Hello everyone, welcome back to Shakur Or. I'm out here with almost all of the adult dogs. Coccidia and Paladin are inside, just because they wanted to be inside. No, I don't have the Poms out here, but I have the Collies and Stranger and Fiction and Vice. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa. Oh, stay down. I'm gonna get the ball out of my pocket. Hold on. I'll show you. So I have the wait, no. Move, no. Drop it. Ah, Caesar. There you go. There we go. There's two balls out here now. I just gotta find wherever they took the other one. This is very handy for getting them some exercise. And it's so quite interesting using this as a method to get them more used to bumbling into each other and all that stuff. Starlight's punishing Fiction because Fiction was being a brat. She's over there. Sounds and looks violent, but Starlight is actually one of the gentler ones in the sense of that she's pretty much all noise and she doesn't ever touch with her teeth. But she's always very loud. Like sometimes she kind of like screams when she corrects someone. Pedal, drop it. Good girl. Ready? What happened? Did you all lose it? Okay. Lemmy usually is pretty decent with her corrections too, but her daughters are a little overboard. And Paladin's that way as well. So I guess it came from Mana, which is weird because Mana doesn't interact with the dogs like that. He doesn't correct other dogs. But Lemmy herself is not that way, so we're not really sure where that intensity came from. And why I've mentioned before. Okay, where did it ran into? Yep. Okay, so Lawlight ran into Starlight. This is what I was talking about. This encourages, okay, the dogs to respect each other. Now, you have to do this kind of stuff carefully because if you cause too much excitement or you have dogs together that are going to go overboard, it can be disastrous. So when you're doing stuff like this, just like when you're also doing things like feeding them all together, what I mean by that is close to each other, throwing treats down, doing what they call scatter feeding, where they practice. Not sure where the other ball went. Oh, Minzizi has it. Minzizi, drop it. Drop it. Minzizi, drop it. Drop it. Good boy. All right. Ready? You have to be careful. It's good for them because you want dogs to learn how to tolerate being bumbled around or tolerate being corrected. Goes both ways. I mentioned that in regards to choosing puppies. Like, we look and try to choose puppies that aren't so sensitive to being bumbled around or pinched or bit by their siblings. That's one of the things we factor in. Not a priority, but there's so many things that are important when choosing breeding prospects. You have to kind of try and prioritize the most important ones and hope for some better stuff. And that's why we also have a lot of dogs, is because we're trying to negate / add in better traits or negate worse traits, etc., by carrying certain dogs. A little bit of variety, I guess, is a good word for it. Whoop. Okay, that was mean. Lolly has been picking on her. Sacer has been too. Shh. No, ma'am. I'm gonna get on to her for that. That was way too hard. Nope. So ideally, get down. Down. She's avoiding it. Get your butt down. She's also probably uncertain what I want her to do, because she hasn't been going on to it a little bit. I'm just gonna keep up with her. I'm not gonna get mad at her. I understand frustration. I understand frustration towards dogs when they do stupid stuff or bad stuff or whatever. We get it. We get frustrated sometimes. But do your very best when correcting or training not to get frustrated. Just help them understand what you want them to do. And for her, I want her to submit to what I'm asking her to do, because she was too mean. So I'm gonna go up here. Touch. Have her on the shoulder. On the back. No. That was Rooster. I need both hands for this, but I'm just gonna push her down. Get out of my face, stranger. Lay her down. Good girl. When you do, people call it an alpha roll. We typically just calling it submitting. When you do a submission like that, and the reason I did that instead of just kind of a regular touch or correction to her is because of the severity of what she did. Now, I didn't see the full thing because I was looking at something else when it happened. But her and Sacer have been picking on Cookie hardcore lately, and it's not nice. Got a feeling I know what that's about, but anyway. So Lolite, I just asked her to get down to submit because I was getting on to her for her behavior. When a dominant dog goes after another dog for bad behavior, they put them on the ground. Now when they do it, there's teeth, there's roaring, there's scratching, clawing, they throw them down. I don't want to do that. A really good dominant dog knows how to put just the right amount of force to get what they want the other dogs to do. So a good pack leader, a good human leader, is going to do the same thing. So in her case, What she did wasn't horrible, but it was not good. So I wanted her to realize she'd been bad. Put her down. And the key thing when you lay them down like that is that they have to stay there. Now she's picking on Fiction. Fiction's been getting in trouble because she's been being an idiot. And the dominant dogs don't like that. Starlight, Love Me, Wildlight, Sacer, Paladin, they're all dominant dogs. Chorus does it too. She's a little bit different with how she does it. When you have a pack, it's a lot different from having your little pet dogs. And even your little pet dog situation can become a pack situation as well. Regardless, you want to lay them down. Not out of anger, not out of spite, revenge, none of those things. A good leader doesn't feel that way. They're simply getting their point across. And when you lay them down, you want them to stay there for a good 10 seconds. They need to lay still. Their eyes need to soften. They need to get the point. You have to stay there. You have to keep them down. You have to stay there until they fully let it go, let it out. And they're like, okay, I got it. I heard you. That's exactly what dominant dogs do to each other as well. And I don't even have to say dominant dogs. It's what dogs do to each other. Because the lower ones will do it to the lower ones in the pack. They don't do it to the more dominant ones because they'll get in trouble. It's that simple. I was talking about Cucky and why I feel like, where are you getting this? No, drop it. Psst, drop it. Hold on. She's got something on her. Ouch. No. Get her mouse. They pulled up this piping stuff somewhere in the yard. It's like a weird rubber pipe, and they've been eating it. I think it was an irrigation pipe for the vine over here. I'm not positive. Sounds like Libby when I do something. Anyway. Interesting stuff. Dogs are fascinating. We've learned so much. We're still learning so much in regards to how to interact with them. What works best for each individual. What works best for the pack as a whole. I think that it's a lifetime process. And I say be merciful to yourself when you make mistakes. Because you're going to make mistakes. The dog's going to make mistakes. But I said this video was going to be about parasites, right? So let's get on parasites. I'm going to start with the very basics. Where do parasites come from? Whoa, girlfriend. Okay, energy's a little high. Wait a second. Intro. We'll see how it goes. Lolite and Sacer also have a lot of drive. Like, they honestly would probably be excellent at doing some sort of sport. We just got to figure out what they want to do. Our lure course came, but we had a problem with it, and we're waiting for a different part to arrive to see if that fixes it. See the piping they keep finding? I don't know what that is, but they've been chewing it up. Wildlight loves it. Sacer's kind of like She's not sure yet. I don't have the ball bow. Parasites. Stay on topic, woman. Parasites are literally everywhere in your environment. They're in the soil. They can live on surfaces. Typically, they're in soil, on the grass. Water is a big source of parasites. A lot of your amphibians, birds, bird poop, deer poop, sorry, burped, all can leave parasites as they go, they go to the bathroom and or if they're eaten. Aquatic things especially have a lot of parasites. So any of your fish, amphibians, ducks, water birds transmit a lot of parasites. And the birds, they get it from the fish and the frogs and then they poop out on the lawn or wherever, and then the eggs from the parasites can stay dormant there. Well, how can the dog pick it up? Eating poop. Eating poop. They can walk over poop and then lick their paws. Just eating dirt, which our dogs like to do. Eating the grass. Drinking water. I mean, literally any of those things they could contract parasites. There are basically two classes of parasites. There's what most people think of, which is worms. And then there is protozoans, which is another type of parasite. Protozoans are Giardia, Coccidia, I think there's one or two others, but with dogs, mostly what you see is Giardia and Coccidia. And then your worms, hookworms, rounds, whips, tapeworms, those specifically come from ingesting fleas. So to say an environment can be sterile of parasites, it's not possible. Even if you were to regularly treat your property with nematodes, which is a means of cutting down on parasites because nematodes eat the eggs of parasites. Any wild animal that comes through your property and poops can spread something. So there's no way to sterilize the wild. It's just not possible. Even dogs that are kept entirely inside or in kennels. Guys, drop it. Will most likely still transmit parasites, and I'll speak on that in a second. Vice is running away from me, so I guess I'm not getting that ball. I'm gonna go try and find another one. How is that? Transmission of parasites. Once a dog has become infected with parasites, which could be in any of the means that I spoke of, I don't know specifically about males, but I do know specifically about females. The females hold the parasites in cysts, basically, within their muscles of their body. And they lie dormant until the female has heat, and then they release eggs and or immature parasites. And that's how and why most puppies are born instantly with parasites. It's because the female already carries it in a dormant state, and they shed them during heat cycles, and they shed them more when they give birth because of the hormone changes. That's why I mentioned before about it seems like our dogs that are fixed have less of an issue with parasites. Less of an issue. Because the hormones cause stress, which lowers the immune system, which then makes them more prone to being susceptible to parasites. Not sure who got the ball. I didn't see it. Or none of them have it. No, none of them have it. Oh no, Chi Shi does. Chito, 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 good girl. It's a good girl. The males, I don't know exactly how it works with them in regards to shedding parasites. Maybe during stressful times they'll shed them. But females specifically, it's during their heat. And that's how the puppies get them. Drop it. Almost all of our puppies, the collie puppies, have had coccidia within 2 to 3 weeks after they're born. Coccidia seems to be like something the collies just have, and they give to the puppies. And roundworms, although the roundworms seem to affect the palms more. The palms always get roundworms too. And the palms get the roundworms worse than the collies have, which is interesting. Now, I mentioned the reason for this discussion was, why would it be that getting a puppy from a breeder who claims to deworm them from super early age or has dewormed them several times, why would it be that you could end up with a puppy that ends up having parasites when you take it home? The reason that's very possible is, number one, we have no way of directly targeting the best time in which to deworm. Parasites go through cycles of being dormant, shedding, and being susceptible to dewormers. We have no way of deworming them at the perfect time. There's no way to tell that. Even if you were to take fecals to the vet, okay, so you get a fecal, which we do fecals periodically to try and see how the deworming's going. And you get one that comes back with having some parasites. That doesn't mean they're at their most susceptible stage. This is also why deworming has to be done several times. It's because you're trying to hit the right stage in which to eliminate them. So when you get your puppy, let's say it comes back with worms, it could be as simple as it was never hit at the right time. The other thing is, because of those stages of dormancy and or shedding, not shedding eggs, because vets are looking for eggs most of the time. Sometimes parasites, yes, but most of the time they're looking for eggs. If the parasites aren't currently shedding eggs and you take a fecal in and it comes back negative, because it will, then you're going to assume they don't have worms, when in reality it's just that they're not in the stage of shedding eggs, so you see it on a fecal. It's that simple. And we've had it happen where we did a fecal not but a week, 2 weeks prior to the puppies going home, and it was completely negative, And then, when that person, the new owner, took the puppy home and ended up taking it to the vet, did a fecal, ended up having worms. The other thing to keep in mind is that puppies are highly susceptible to worms, to parasites. They're highly susceptible. Adults, not as much, because their immune systems are immature. So your puppy, you want to do all those wonderful things with them, which is great, fine. We don't worry about these kinds of things. But you take them out, you go hiking, they eat some poop. You take them out, they drink some nasty water. It doesn't even have to be nasty water. They drink some water, they get Giardia or Coccidia. It's because they're so young, they're more susceptible to these things. The other thing with that is that domestic dogs, because of poor breeding, yes, but also just because they're not allowed to build immunity to these things. They're not out there drinking nasty water. They're not out there eating raw meat, doing the things that a normal wild canine would do. They are more susceptible to infection from parasites. Just the way it is. Coccidia and Giardia specifically can get wildly out of control and is a little dangerous. Those typically come from dirty water, but not always. But our worst cases in regards to health of a puppy was Chi Shi and Love Me, and they had heavy roundworm infection. Most people associate that with a bloated belly and being, pooping worms or whatever. Neither one of them were. They weren't pooping worms. They were just really thin and had no appetite. It was just because of worms. We have not experienced bloat due to parasites as of yet. Young lady, can you drop that, please? Can you drop that? Can you drop that? Can you drop that, please? Thank you. Good girl. This is Kokoro. She was formerly Parasite. I don't remember if I said that. She's staying with us as a show prospect. We're going to give it a whirl. Probably going to get slandered up and down, but we think she's beautiful. And we think she's worthy. And that's all that matters. Does she have faults? Yep. She does. But parasites. And the other thing I wish to mention about parasites is that we try not to start our worming till a certain point when they're between 3 and 4 weeks old. The reason for that is because we actually want to see how the puppies react to a parasite load and how they react to the dewormer. And we have generally seen a trend of which ones do well and which ones do not. And we have been trying to, amongst so many other things, pick out the puppies that are more resistant. We're just trying to breed healthier dogs. There are so many factors that go into what we pick. I can't even begin to list it all and why. But unfortunately, Cocky, drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Good girl. No, she's being defensive. Okay, I'm gonna hold it there for a second. No. Psst. Psst. No. Okay. I want her to move away on her own. I'm not going to force her to. I want her to move away because I am claiming this already. And a respectful dog would back off. She's being a little bit furred right now. And that's because she has high drive to chew on things and play with toys and be possessive over toys. We're just going to stand here until she walks away. And this is just dog stuff. They all have their things that they have issues with. Now, she has sat down and she just looked at me, so I will take that instead of her moving away. Anyway, and we try not to worm our puppies too many times. Why? You have to be very careful with deworming because the worms can become resistant to the dewormers. And all of this stuff of people constantly deworming their puppies is not good. They are creating super parasites is what they're doing. We also rotate dewormers, but some dewormers work better for different parasites. So it's very much a finagled business, and it's not a perfect process. And there's no way to guarantee that when you get a puppy, whether it's been dewormed, only 2 times or 6 times, that it won't have parasites within a month of you taking it home. And that's the other thing, is you could take it home and then it gets infected on your own property. That's why we encourage people to take them in within 2 weeks of taking them home, get a fecal done, because we will pay for dewormer if they have worms. We just feel like that's the responsible thing to do, and it's the right thing to do. We are doing our best to do what's best for the puppies and the people. So don't flip out if you get a puppy that has worms. But if you get a puppy that is just loaded, or it has physically affected them, they're sick, they're skinny, they're whatever, that's not good. That's not okay. Don't accept that. What I'm saying is, don't rail your breeder if your dog, your puppy, has a little bit of worms. It's normal. And it's expected. Okay, she is being disrespectful. Petal has also been doing this kind of stuff. But, again, they're at that age where they're testing different things. Drop it. Thank you. Good girl. Lolite. No, ma'am. Please don't do that, because it's very common that puppies have worms for many reasons. And it's not good when a breeder deworms as often as most of them do. It's not good for the gut of the puppy. It's not good for the resistance of the worms. So that technically is a bad practice. We are trying to figure out exactly what is the best practice for our program because of our views. But we haven't quite nailed it down yet. And getting a routine of, when to do it, when to start it, etc. The best time. So hopefully it's best for everyone. because dewormers destroy the gut biome and all that stuff. And when you're doing that to a 2-week-old puppy, because I mean there are people that's when they start, is at 2 weeks old. It's not good for them. And there have been some studies, not much, because again this stuff hasn't been studied much, that have indicated that all that early deworming leads to potentially food allergies and sensitive guts as an adult because of it destroying their guts so young. Sorry, I had the camera all wonk. You would think that breeding dogs would be easy, but it's not. And a lot of people just accept what it is, and we're just not that way. We want to do what's best for the dogs. We want to do what's best for the puppies and best for the owners. Buyers, what do you want to call you guys? We want to do what's best for you guys. Some people will deworm the mother while she's pregnant, but I don't know about that either. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how that would affect the puppies as they're growing. We haven't done that. I could see, the one thing I do agree with is deworming the mothers as they come into heat, because that's when initially, they start releasing parasites. That we have talked about starting to do that, see what that does. Try that out, and then maybe deworming the mom within a couple days after giving birth, and see what that does. Maybe we could find a way where we don't really have to deworm the puppies, or we can wait longer to be able to deworm the puppies. Because even 3-4 weeks is still too early, in my opinion. Yes, it wiggles. Leave that cat alone. Leave it. Rudy. Leave it, Rudy. Good boy. Good boy. Ay, 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 good boy. Good boys. All right. Whoa. Good boys. Whoa. We'll have to see. We'll try some different things with our next litter. I don't know when that'll be. To be perfectly honest, we're feeling a little down right now. Nothing to do with you guys. Just feeling a bit down about our program and the quality of our dogs, which is nowhere near what we wish it was. But we had talked about that from the beginning. We were going to work toward that. But to be able to work toward that, we also have to have other breeders that are willing to give us better dogs. And that's the problem. They hate us. I don't know what to say. It's just, it is what it is. They don't like us for some reason or another. And I get it, in the sense of hate shouldn't be there, but if you simply don't agree with something that another breeder's doing, you don't have to feel obligated to give them a puppy or do a studding. Stud one of their dogs. You don't have to, that's your choice. But you don't have to be mean. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be that way. If anything, try to be encouraging. Even if you yourself aren't willing to help in the sense of providing a dog that perhaps is better, you can still give advice. You can still help in some sort of form or fashion. But something I've noticed, and this is not just in the dog world, I'm talking about across the board when it comes to animal breeding, is that breeders, one, are extremely egotistical. Like, that's what drives them to do what they're doing most of the time. They get pride out of, you know, I have a rare color, or, you know, I won all these championships, or whatever. And yes, you should feel proud to a degree, but when that then makes you a mean person, that's not good. That's not right. But across the board, and all breeding, all animal breeding, it's just, it's either ego or they're just plain hateful, like for relatively no reason. Not even, you know, you can have the, say in the collies, we can have collies that were some of the very best bloodlines, but just because we choose to have our dogs differently, they would still hate us or put us down for it. I mean, people are just mean. Just because you decide to do something a little different, or just because you decide to do something that isn't the way, you know, they do it, or how it's been done forever. Like the whole inbreeding thing, we don't agree with it. There's a certain degree of it that is good and helpful, but the vast majority of it is, we don't agree with it, and it's bad, proven to be bad across the board in all animals. But they see nothing wrong with it, because that's the way it's been done for eons. But that doesn't mean it's right. It's as simple as that. It doesn't mean it's right. And the reptile industry is really horrible about that, the inbreeding thing. They inbreed to the nines because they think that it doesn't affect the animals. I mean, they do it constantly, so they get all those pretty colors and all that stuff. That's where those colors come from. That's from inbreeding. Inbreeding causes mutations in the chromosomes, which causes those pretty colors to pop up. Doesn't mean it couldn't happen randomly, because it could, but inbreeding causes a high amount of mutations to occur on the chromosomes. You know, albino animals in the wild, that's from them inbreeding. And it seems like people are seeing more and more of them. And all species, melanistics, all those things, that's a mutation. And yes, a degree of inbreeding has to occur to preserve a breed. We agree with that. We're not talking about taking the collies and messing them up or making them not collies. No, we love the collies. We want our collies to be more collie-y. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we want them to be detrimented to follow a standard, or to get more of that standard by inbreeding. We don't want to do that. We don't want their health affected just for some stupid reason like that. In the reptile world, they do those practices so much, and they claim it doesn't affect them. But in reptiles, you can't ask them or see the things that you would in a dog, like gut health. And, well, are you blind in one eye or both? They have no way of knowing those things in reptiles. Reptile medicine is very limited. But I can tell you I've seen an uptick in certain morphs in Western hognoses, because we have a few Western hognoses and some Easterns that we caught, locally. They were wild, they're pets. Some corns or rats. In Western hognoses, there has been an uptick in them having digestive issues, particularly in certain morphs, such as albinos, caramels. Coincidence? I think not. See, to get those morphs are recessive, which means they have to have 2 copies of that mutation to show a different color. That means both parents have to have it to produce these offspring. So what do people do when they get a new morph? They breed it back to the parents, and then they do it again with the offspring, and again. I mean, that's how they do it, to get those recessive genes. It doesn't have to be done that way. It really doesn't, but it's the way it's been done forever. And they think it's acceptable because of that, because they don't see the consequences most often. Why? Because they keep the ones that survive and thrive. It's the same in inbred mammals. Breeders keep the ones that survive and thrive. And they off count the ones that have problems as being, just normal to what they're doing. Or just a consequence, it's not a big deal. There will always be random crop outs of mutations or issues, because that just happens. Unfortunately, breeders can't control genetics the way we would like. Fiction. Psst. Being rude. If we could, it wouldn't be so hard. And it wouldn't require so much inbreeding to maintain something, if we can control genetics. All these dogs need baths. Spring is typically when we give them all baths, and then we'll give them again baths in the fall. But sometimes we give baths in between. It depends on how dirty they get, honestly. And they get brushed once a month, every 2 months. I don't keep track of it. I just brush them when I feel like they need it. Like Petal needs to be brushed right now. Looks like ZC is possibly blowing his coat, so he needs to be brushed. Chi Shi. If I were to bathe her as often she gets dirty, she'd be getting baths all the time. But this should be the end of the video. I just wanted to cover the parasites. I didn't want to get on everything else. It just kind of happened. Whoa. Just feel a little down is all. Wishing people were kinder. Understanding maybe why they're not, but you don't have to be unkind. You can just disagree. Just say no. You know? Would you stop? No, no. You see it? You see her? She's doing the alligator trump. Collies do that sometimes too, where they clack their jaw when they're excited. So I'm gonna go now. Bye-bye.